In 24 BC, an African queen cut off the head of the Roman emperor. No, a metaphor. She literally beheaded his statue and buried it under her palace floor so she could step on his face every single day. The year is 24 BC. Rome, the most powerful empire on earth, just made a huge mistake. They invaded the land of a one-eyed African queen. Her name was Amanirenas, and she is about to hand Rome their worst defeat in decades, 3 times. Most people have never heard of her, but archaeologists have. In 1910, British archaeologists were digging in Sudan, in the ruins of an ancient city called Merod, and they found something impossible, a bronze head, perfectly preserved, buried under what used to be a palace entrance. It was Emperor Augustus, the most powerful man in the ancient world, and he'd been buried face down, under a doorway. For 2,000 years, people walked on his face. This is the story of the woman who put him there. Queen Amanirenas, ruler of the kingdom of Kush, an empire that had existed for over 1,000 years. Kush had pyramids and was conquering Egypt. This wasn't some minor player. This was a superpower. And Amanirenas, she was the warrior queen. Some sources say she lost her eye in a battle. Others says it's a disease. What do you think? Drop it in the comments. But here is what we know for sure. When Rome came for her kingdom, she didn't back down. Augustus Caesar just conquered Egypt. Cleopatra is dead, and Egypt is now Roman. And Augustus is feeling ambitious. He looks south, at Kush, at Amanirenas' kingdom, and he makes a decision that will cost him. He stations Roman troops at the Kushite border. He demands tribute, gold, silver, soldiers, basically. He tells Amanirenas, "You work for Rome now." Her response, war. And it starts with fire. It's 24 BC. Amanirenas doesn't wait for Rome to attack. She attacks them. Her army, 60,000 soldiers, crosses into Roman Egypt. They hit 3 Roman-controlled cities, Syene, Philly, Elephantine. And they didn't just capture them, they destroyed them. Roman sources say she took prisoners, Roman soldiers, civilians, and officials. She captured their military standards, the ultimate humiliation in Roman culture, and then she found the statues. Bronze statues of Emperor Augustus, scattered across the conquered cities. Symbols of Roman power, and she cut off their heads, every single one. But she kept one for herself. She takes the bronze head of Augustus back to Merod, her capital city, her home. And she doesn't put it on display. She buries it under the threshold of her palace, so that every person who enters steps on the face of Rome's emperor. Question, would you have done this? Or would you have negotiated for peace? Honest answers only. Drop them below. But here is the thing. Rome wasn't done. They sent reinforcements, thousands of them. Rome sent General Gaius Petronius with orders. Crush the rebellion. He recaptures the 3 cities. He even pushes into Kush itself. This should have been the end of the story, right? Rome is back, and they've got more soldiers, better training. Amanirenas changes her tactics, guerrilla warfare. Her forces hit the Romans at night, in the desert heat, when they were exhausted and sleeping. Ancient sources described her as leading from the front and fighting with one eye. And it worked. Petronius's army, exhausted, overstretched, and demoralized. So they retreated back to Egypt. Victory number 2. Rome tried one more time. Rome sends another troop of army. But here is the thing. Rome was fighting wars everywhere. In Germany, Spain, and Parthia, they were overstretched, and Amanirenas knows this. She fortifies her borders and prepared for a siege, and the Romans, they can't break through. More importantly, they can't afford to break through. This war is draining resources they need elsewhere, so Augustus does something almost unheard of. He negotiates, not from a position of strength. 21 BC, Amanirenas travels to the island of Samos to meet with Augustus's ambassadors. And here is the treaty they sign. 1. Withdraws from Kushite territory. 2. Rome cancels all tribute demands. 3. The border returns to where it was before the war. They gave up land. They gave up tribute. They gave up control to an African queen. This wasn't a peace treaty. This was Rome backing down. Roman historians barely mention this war. When they do, they call it a minor skirmish, a border dispute. They don't mention the 3 defeats. They don't mention the peace treaty. They definitely don't mention the statue head. And when European historians wrote their history books centuries later, they followed Rome's version. They erased her. They erased Kush. They erased the fact that an African kingdom, led by a one-eyed warrior queen, defeated Rome at the height of its power, because it didn't fit the story they wanted to tell. A story that Africa was uncivilized, that it was waiting to be discovered. But the archaeological evidence doesn't lie. That head is in the British Museum right now. Can go see it. Amanirenas died around 10 BC. Her kingdom eventually fell. That's what they couldn't erase, the fact that she existed. The fact that Rome had to negotiate as equals. Today, her pyramids still stand in Sudan. A story is being rediscovered. What else you might not know? Heir was Nzinga of Ndongo, who fought Portugal for 40 years. Yahasantua, who led Ghana's last stand against Britain. Atrum sisters who drove China out of Vietnam. Stories of resistance. Stories of victory. If you made it this far, you're part of something. Or bringing these stories back. One warrior queen at a time. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Drop a sword in the comments if you never learned about Amanirenas in school.